Hello and welcome to Huddersfield Town's post-match show after a disappointing defeat to Millwall. To talk us through the action and what went wrong, I'm delighted to be joined by former Town defenders David Mirfin and Nathan Clarke. How are you both? You okay?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Excellent. Nathan, obviously it was a disappointing performance. What do you think went wrong here?
From my point of view, it looked very slow. The build-up play was very slow, and whether the pitch had something to do with that, I'm not too sure. But yeah, it was from back to front. The build-up play was probably too slow, and Millwall, being the type of team they are, defended really well and made it really hard for Huddersfield.
Yeah, because the game seemed to almost play into Millwall's hands, Murph, didn't it? I suppose go ahead early on, second phase of a set play, and then sit back and almost say to Huddersfield Town, we'll break us down. Let's see what you're made of.
Yeah, I think it's probably what we used to call a smash and grab. I think intention was there to try and score early. I think they started really well, Millwall, to be fair. I think obviously the amount of corners they had possession in Town's final third, and I think it's not often you get rewarded with a goal so early. And then when it does come like that, like Nate said, as a team like Millwall who are so organised, you could see literally two banks of four, and any time Huddersfield got any sort of momentum, it was either a sloppy pass, again, whether that was to do with the pitch or not, slow play, or Millwall just defending really well.
Do you think, Nathan, saying that, obviously slow build-up play, do you think people just needed to be a little bit braver on the ball, try and play the ball through the lines a little bit more often?
Yeah, possibly. I think it is that pass, that one that breaks the lines, and gets you further up the pitch. A lot of the time it was, like you say, very passive. It was square and more often than not going backwards. And like I say, it was really hard to break Millwall down. They're so drilled really well, and they showed their intent straight away, really, pushing straight on in the first half and making it hard for Town to play out. So, like you said, it probably is that pass that breaks the lines and gets people on the front foot.
What's that like in a game, Murph, when you're basically playing against a bank of 10, 11 players, trying to break them down? You're 1-0 down. You're obviously trying to stick to your philosophy and not become almost scoreboard motivated. What's that like as a player on the pitch to make those decisions?
I think for centre halves, it's frustrating because you look tonight and Town's two centre halves kind of had the ball on the halfway line with no pressure on them, and I can't think any time where I've played in a game where that's happened. I think it is, like I say, when you've got a philosophy of the way of playing that the manager's trying to drill into the players, you see that you're not kind of having that long ball put into the 18-yard box. You've not really got the players to do that. I think you saw in the last kind of 2 minutes when he put Saw up top, he got it into his chest and he created a corner. And you think, well, if they'd done that early in the second half, would they've had more luck? Kind of crosses into the box, didn't really happen. And it is frustrating, I think, when you're wanting almost that kind of option B, and you've either not got it, or you don't get the chance to do it because of how the manager wants you to play.
I guess that's the difficulty, isn't it, Nathan? I suppose with the height that Millwall possesses across their back line, you can't really lump the balls forwards. That's where, like you said, you have to be a bit quicker, maybe switching the play a little bit more, or like we said earlier, play between the lines. Yeah,
100%. I think the speed of the ball, like you say, transferring from the defence into midfield, it just needed to be a little bit quicker, and try and catch Millwall out. And I can't remember too many times there's the ball got played down the sides, or we had free runners. They were marked pretty well, and like Murph said, sometimes you've got to look at the plan B and maybe go a little bit longer and see what happens and play for second balls. I know in commentary they were saying late on there, just maybe go a little bit longer and see what happens. And yeah, Millwall are a big side, but I don't think really we tested them too much at the back.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about, obviously, the winning goal. 4 minutes in, Scott Malone, obviously former Huddersfield Town left back, came back to haunt us. How did he have so much room, Murph?
I think it's one of those typical examples where the set piece taker is obviously not marked. It's obviously a second phase of the corner. As a back four, you're coming out, you're thinking, well, I'm marking my man. We look solid, we know where everyone is. And then because he's come from so wide and obviously taking the corner, it's either a collective that no one's switched on and seen him, or everyone's just kind of so directed towards the ball that you kind of forget of everything that's behind it. I mean, it's a bit of a nothing ball. It's into a decent area. But like I say, when you kind of see the defence coming out, they're all thinking, well, I've got my man. It's kind of going to go out for nothing. And it is, like I say, one of the typical examples where a set piece taker just kind of drifts in from the other side. And I think that's probably the reason why he had so much time.
How do you stop that from happening then, Nathan? Because like Murph said, you come out, you've got your men. The set piece taker comes into the box, he becomes active, obviously. How do you decide who picks him up? Who leaves their man and goes to him?
I think it's a tough one, and certainly for me and Murph, who are more defensive minded, I guess. I think you come out marking your man, and you're hoping that everybody else is locking on to their men as well. And I think sometimes once the ball got cleared, you see people charging forward, and that's where people, when the ball does get recycled back in, you can often get caught out, and possibly that's what happened. But it's a tough one when the guy who was taking the corner in the first place just sort of drifted in, really, didn't he? Found himself with a lot of space.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously we came back into the game within that first half, Murph. A penalty, Fraser Campbell ultimately missed it. But when you have these chances and Millwall are playing the way that they are, you really have to take those, don't you?
Yeah, I think they made a point on commentary about obviously not scoring a penalty yet this season. And I instantly had that kind of feeling in my gut. You're thinking, oh no, here we go again, kind of thing. And the way Campbell kind of picked the ball up and put it down on the spot, you're thinking looks pretty confident, and he's hit it obviously almost too well. But like Matty said, from a penalty, you do need to be hitting the target. It's hard to criticise when someone's got the kind of the confidence to take it. But it was a great opportunity to get back into the game. And I think at that particular time, Town had the pressure. And I think Millwall looked like they were on the back foot. And it was almost a role reversal in the first 5 minutes where Millwall were on top and got the goal. Town had been on top for 15, 20 minutes. And you're thinking this is the time where you need to kind of capitalise on it.
Yeah, and like you said, it's the second penalty that we've had this year. Juninho Bacuna obviously had the first one and missed. Fraser Campbell took the ball for obviously our second penalty, the one today, and missed as well. Nathan, how's it decided within a dressing room on who has spot kicks? Because I think Juninho Bacuna wanted it again, but like Murph said, Fraser was dead set on having this one.
And that's the thing. I think sometimes before, it depends what team you're in. You've got people who have taken penalties throughout their careers, or you've got people who just feel confident at that moment. But I've been in teams before, and managers choose before we even go out to play the game, that lad will be taking the penalties if we get one. So I'm not too sure how they've decided it, but it's like Murph said, they picked the ball up confidently enough and struck the ball well. It just obviously went back a little bit too much, and unfortunately for Town, it hit the bar.
Yeah, absolutely. And there were some good chances as well following that, wasn't there, Murph? I think Juninho Bacuna was slipped into the box by Lewis O'Brien and dragged a shot wide, and Danny Ward had a good effort saved by the keeper as well.
Yeah, it all seemed to kind of stem from kind of top low at the left back area getting forward. Every time, I think that does seem to be the one outlet that Town had tonight, and I think it's been on previous occasions as well. And I think when you're relying on your left back as your main attacking outlet, it can be a bit frustrating, and teams can kind of manage a game knowing that that's where it's going to come from. But like I say, both opportunities. I think Bacuna's, is kind of half got caught in between two minds, kind of shooting and crossing. And obviously Ward's shot, it's kind of great strike to play in the box, and it's a good save. And I think again, that time, thinking this is the time we need to score. And they were getting chances, and I think probably first half, Millwall's keeper actually had to work the hardest.
Yeah, and then the second half felt very different. We didn't seem to create a lot of chances, Nathan. Why do you think that was? Do you think it was a case of Millwall doing their job very well and frustrating Town? Or do you think, again, it was just Town lacked that urgency almost in possession?
Yeah, it's a combination of both, I think, wasn't it? I think, Millwall, are renowned for the way they go about their business and play the football, and so aggressive, defend really well, got big lads who are not scared of throwing the head in there, and it just seems to work for them, doesn't it? They showed their intent straight away from the first whistle, and it, right through to the final whistle, it was the same. Constantly pressing with Jed Wallace top, forever running, and it was just a little bit of combination of both. We tried to force the pass now and again, and it just went a little bit astray. But again, sort of back and sideways, it was frustrating to watch, really.
I'm interested to know, Murph, from your experience, when you're out there, everyone knows how many injuries Huddersfield Town have at the moment. I think there's probably 10 or 11 players that have been unavailable for tonight. When the side is chopping and changing like it is because players are coming back or getting injured again, how hard is it to create those relationships when you play like Huddersfield Town do, to know where people are going to be when you're changing shape and again, just the relationships on the pitch? How much of an impact do you think that is having at this moment in time?
I think you will find, obviously, with the more successful teams, there is that kind of familiarity in terms of probably got 7 or 8 lads that are playing week in, week out. Obviously, I know tonight changed both centre halves. It is frustrating, but then on the flip side, you've got a squad of 25, nearly 30 players that the lads that aren't playing it week in, week out are either knocking on the manager's door saying, why am I not getting a chance? Or they're frustrated themselves waiting. And when they do, it is hard because they're probably coming in at a time where there's a lot more changes and probably a little bit of pressure on them to kind of take that chance. In terms of players building relationships up, I think that'll come down to the manager's philosophy that he drills it into his full squad. This is what I want you to do. This is your position. This is how I want you to play. And it seems as though watching him on the touchline, he's almost doing a running commentary of where he wants players, and that in itself can be quite frustrating for players because sometimes you're kind of thinking, well, I know you want me to do, but there's certain times in a game where we need a bit of freedom, where you can't coach it in the week, and you can only play to that kind of particular kind of setup as it is in the game. So there's a combination of so many frustrating factors, but I think if you have got a settled team of, like I said, 7 to 8 or 9 players, it does make it a lot easier when you're going out on the pitch because you have got that relationship, you know what each other's going to do.
Yeah, Nathan, we kept going, didn't we, until the end? But there was a let-off, wasn't there, in the second half, just on the hour mark when Ryan Leonard put the ball in the back of the net. I think the linesman ruled it out for offside.
That, or I think there was a foul, wasn't there, on the keeper. He seemed to be pinned down at the stage of the ball going in the back of the net. But yeah, it was a little bit of a let-off, but that's what they're so good at. They're good at their corners, their free kicks. They keep the ball in there, and obviously showed for the goal initially, but throughout the game, they had a really high corner count, and they're certainly a threat.
In touching on players coming in, Nathan, obviously it was Richard Keogh's first start for Huddersfield Town after his return. How do you think he got on?
He did well. I'm sure he'll be happy with his performance. Obviously disappointed with the result, but performance-wise, it's his first game. There was a couple, I think, like you said, building relationships. There was a couple of misplaced passes to Sarr, but that in time that will certainly come. I think he'll be happy personally, but disappointed that he's not started off with a win.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're still obviously looking for our first win of 2021. We've got almost a week now, Murph, before we go away to Bristol City. How important could this week be, not only to kind of try and build those relationships like we've already touched upon on the training ground for the lads that were in the team today, but also to try and hopefully get some of those injured lads back on the pitch?
Yeah, I think with everything that's gone on, I think a full week kind of without a game is quite unique at this stage of the season. Obviously, it's still January and there's still a chance of possibly looking at bringing anyone in. But I think the big thing for Town, like I said, with the injury list they've got, is to try and get some lads some minutes in training and building the fitness up to be part of next weekend's squad. It's probably going to be down to the manager and the coaching staff to kind of instill that belief in the lads that this philosophy they've got is going to work. It's still work in progress. It's a way of playing that it does take a lot of work on the training ground and it will take time. They've obviously got the players that can do it. It's just making sure they've got kind of the full availability of the lads that probably, if they were fit, would start.
Yeah, it is a process, like you say. And Nathan, I'm interested to know. Obviously, you're playing at Halifax Town at the minute, but have you kept in touch with Huddersfield Town and how we're playing, and what have you thought under Carlos Corberán this year?
I've tried my best. Yeah, it's always hard, obviously, when you're playing yourself and sort of missing out on watching the games. But yeah, I try my best. I was to be honest, I was really looking forward to tonight. There's obviously been a lot of talk about the style, the pace, and the training standards have been really high, and so yeah, I was really looking forward to that, and possibly didn't see enough of that tonight. But I'm sure that will come. I still keep in touch with a few of the lads that are there. I still speak to Brookie and Boothie and players like that. So it's nice just to see how things are going. And obviously, Danny Schofield, who I played with in Huddersfield, has joined the coaching staff along with John Worthington as well. So yeah, there's a few familiar faces, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah, and how's everything going at Halifax?
Really well, yeah. I've had a bit of an eye injury over Christmas. I detached my retina, so I had quite a lengthy operation on that. So I'm just nicely getting back to my full sight, really. So it'd be nice to get back playing again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and Murph, and you, what are you up to at the moment?
I'm working for actually Chris Sedgwick, ex-player. He's got a small company in Sheffield, and we specialise in vitality insurance now. So it's a complete kind of different kind of path I'm on now. But if I'm honest, I don't really miss it. Kind of retirement was forced on me with my knee. So it was something that was kind of in the back of my mind that I knew I had to kind of make a decision on what I was going to do next. And it's something I'm really enjoying. But it is nice to get asked to do stuff like this. You get a chance to see kind of, like I mean, Nate touched on it, and I mentioned it last time I did this, kind of when we were coming through. It's such a family kind of oriented club that you like seeing. Like I say, obviously Boothie's always kind of been there. Obviously Scully's on the coaching staff. Worthy's now involved. And I think the fans will probably like to see that, knowing that there's staff there that understand how the club kind of work and what the fans want to see. So it is really good to see that they've kind of got ex-players involved with the club, and even someone like Brookie who's been there for years and years. He understands what the fans want and how the club work, and it all combined with obviously new ways and new philosophies. It all kind of adds up to hopefully being an exciting future. Yeah,
100%. And it's good to hear you're both doing well as well. Thank you very much for joining us, and Town fans, thank you for watching.
No problem.
Thank you.